I was certain I would marry the girl of my dreams. We planned our future, saved for a house, did everything together. Then I found a hidden folder on her laptop. She thought I would never find out. She was wrong. 5 years is a long time to build a life with someone. That's how long Emily and I had been together, crafting what I thought was our perfect little world in Austin, Texas. She was everything I'd ever wanted, brilliant, kind, and breathtakingly beautiful. The kind of woman who turned heads when she walked into a room but never seemed to notice. The type who would bring soup to sick colleagues and remember everyone's birthdays. At least, that's who I thought she was. We had a good thing going. Both of us had solid jobs in tech, me as a software developer, her as a project manager at a rival company. We split the rent on a modern apartment in South Congress, went to farmers markets on weekends, and dreamed about the house we'd buy someday. The down payment fund grew steadily in our joint account, mostly from my contributions since Emily always seemed to have unexpected expenses. I didn't mind. We were a team, weren't we? Looking back, there were signs. Small things at first, like how she'd started taking more client calls in the evening, stepping onto our balcony where I couldn't hear the conversation. Or how she'd angle her phone away when texting, claiming she was planning a surprise for my birthday, even though that was months away. The late nights at work became more frequent too. Big project, she'd say, kissing me on the cheek as she breezed in at 9 p.m., smelling of perfume I didn't recognize. I'm not the jealous type. Never have been. Trust is sacred, and I'd seen too many relationships destroyed by paranoia to let myself go down that road. But humans have instincts for a reason, and mine were screaming that something was off. The night I found out, I wasn't even looking for anything. Emily was at another team dinner, and I was sprawled on our couch, her laptop open on the coffee table. She'd been using it to show me houses earlier, dreaming about our future. The screen had gone dark, but when I moved the mouse to queue up Netflix, something caught my eye. A folder tucked away in an obscure directory, labeled simply WTF. My finger hovered over the touchpad. This was a breach of privacy. This was wrong. This was. I clicked. The folder opened to reveal dozens of subfolders, each meticulously organized by date. My stomach churned as I opened the first one. Photos. Videos. Chat logs. Emily, my Emily, in compromising positions with a man I didn't recognize. Then another. And another. The dates. God, the dates. Some were from just last week, when she said she was working late on the Peterson account. The chat logs were worse. She talked about me with these men, mocking my trust, my devotion. Called me her ATM with benefits. Joked about how I was saving for our future while she was living her best life on my dime. The room spun. I barely made it to the bathroom before emptying my stomach. Then I sat on the cold tile floor, trying to think through the roaring in my ears. 3 years of therapy had taught me something valuable: when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So I took deep breaths and made myself think. I could confront her. Scream, throw things, make a scene. I could pack my bags and disappear, leaving her to wonder. But neither option felt right. She had played me like a fiddle, used me as her safety net while she lived a double life. No, this required something more elegant. First things first, evidence. I spent the next hour meticulously copying every file, every chat log, every damning photo to a secure cloud drive. Then I started to really study the material. Patterns emerged. Names. Places. Connections. The cast of characters in Emily's private drama was fascinating. There was Mark, her boss, a married executive with a reputation to protect. Based on their chats, they'd been meeting in his office after hours for months. Then came Jason, her personal trainer, who offered private sessions that involved very little actual exercise. And finally Robert, a wealthy client, married with 2 kids and a high-profile position in local politics. Each man had something to lose. Each one had left a trail of evidence. And each one was about to learn a valuable lesson about karma. I started with Mark. An anonymous email account, a carefully worded message about inappropriate workplace relationships, and a few choice video attachments. I made it clear, resign quietly, or the board of directors would receive a very interesting package. He was gone within 48 hours, citing personal reasons. Jason was next. I created a burner Instagram account and started DMing his female clients. Nothing explicit, just enough questions about his special training methods to set off alarm bells. The fitness community in Austin is tight-knit, whispers spread like wildfire. His client list evaporated overnight. Robert required a more delicate touch. His wife Chelsea had always seemed nice at company events, if a bit naive. I sent her a letter, physical mail, untraceable, with printed screenshots of her husband's chats with Emily. Included were details about their meetings at the Four Seasons, charged to his family's credit card. Chelsea moved out the next day, taking the kids and half his assets with her. The dominoes were falling perfectly, but Emily remained blissfully unaware. She continued her routine, growing increasingly frustrated as her carefully constructed world began to crumble. Her boss's sudden departure meant a major project was reassigned. Her gym sessions were cancelled when Jason stopped returning her calls. And Robert, well, he was a bit too busy with divorce proceedings to answer her texts. I watched it all unravel, maintaining my supportive boyfriend facade. I held her while she cried about work stress. I suggested new gyms when she complained about Jason's disappearance. I even listened sympathetically when she worried about the company losing Robert's business. Finally, I made my last move. I transferred every penny from our joint account to a new one in my name only. 5 years of savings, the down payment for our imaginary future home, gone in a single transaction. Then I waited. Emily came home late that night, looking tired but composed. I had her laptop open on the kitchen counter, that infamous folder displayed on the screen. Next to it sat a USB drive containing copies of everything. Her face when she walked in, that moment of recognition, of realization, I'll never forget it. The color drained from her cheeks as she took in the scene. Connor? What are you? Her voice trailed off as she moved closer to the screen. Interesting reading material, I said quietly. Especially the part where you call me your personal piggy bank. I can explain, she started, but I cut her off. No need. I think Mark, Jason, and Robert have done enough explaining. I enjoyed watching each name hit her like a physical blow. Funny thing about karma, sometimes it needs a little push. She grabbed her phone, presumably to check her bank balance. I watched her face crumple as she saw the zero where our savings had been. You can't, that's illegal, she sputtered. I smiled. Actually, I can. Joint account, remember? Just like you could spend our money on hotel rooms with Robert. Speaking of Robert, how's he doing? Haven't seen him at any company events lately. She sank into a chair, her carefully constructed world collapsing around her. No job. No lovers. No savings. No next move. I picked up my pre-packed bag from beside the door. Lease is paid through the end of the month. After that, you're on your own. Just like all those men you used and discarded. Connor, please, she whispered. We can fix this. I paused at the door, looking back at the woman I'd thought I'd spend my life with. You know what's funny, Emily? You played everyone so perfectly, pulled all the strings just right. But you forgot something crucial. What? She asked, barely audible. The quiet ones are always the most dangerous. We watch. We learn. And when we strike. I shrugged. Well, you've seen the results. I closed the door on her sob, walking away from 5 years of lies. My phone buzzed, a notification from my bank about the transfer to my new account. In my pocket, the USB drive contained enough evidence to ensure Emily's professional reputation would never recover. Was it revenge? Absolutely. Was it justice? Maybe. Was it enough? I'm still not sure. But as I drove away from our apartment for the last time, I felt something unexpected, not satisfaction, not righteousness, but a quiet sort of emptiness. I'd destroyed her world as thoroughly as she'd destroyed my trust. Yet somehow, the victory felt hollow. Maybe that's the thing about revenge, it doesn't heal the wound, it just passes it on. But as I crossed the city limits, watching Austin's lights fade in my rearview mirror, I couldn't bring myself to regret a single move in our final game. After all, she taught me everything I knew about manipulation. I just turned out to be a better student than she expected. 3 months passed like a fever dream. I moved to Houston, took a better-paying job, and started over. But Emily's shadow followed me, appearing in unexpected moments. Sometimes I'd catch myself checking my phone, muscle memory expecting her daily "good morning" text. Other times I'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there, the ghost of 5 years haunting my bed. I kept tabs on her, of course. Not out of love or concern, but a sort of morbid curiosity. It wasn't hard, social media tells all kinds of stories if you know how to read between the lines. Her LinkedIn showed a series of short-term contracts, each less prestigious than the last. Her Instagram posts grew less frequent, the carefully curated image of success crumbling post by post. The aftermath rippled through our old social circle. Some mutual friends chose sides immediately, their loyalties clear. Others tried to stay neutral until Emily's late-night drunk calls and desperate attempts to explain her side drove them away. A few reached out to me, sharing stories of things they'd noticed but never mentioned. Red flags I'd been too blind to see. Then came the messages. First through friends, was I sure about what I'd done? Did I understand the consequences? Then directly, when those went unanswered. Emails, texts, voicemails, each more desperate than the last. I saved them all but responded to none. Her words had lost their power over me. One night, about 4 months after I left, my phone lit up with an unknown Austin number. Is this Connor Mitchell? A woman's voice, unfamiliar. Yes. This is Chelsea Roberts. Robert's wife. A pause. Well, ex-wife now. My heart skipped. Mrs. Roberts, I dash. Chelsea, please. She took a breath. I wanted to thank you. That was unexpected. Thank me? For the letter. The evidence. I'd suspected for years, but Robert was so good at making me doubt myself. Gaslighting, my therapist calls it. She gave a bitter laugh. 15 years of marriage, and it took a stranger to show me the truth. We talked for an hour. About Robert's other affairs that had come to light during the divorce. About her kids, who were adjusting better than expected. About Emily, who'd apparently tried to contact Robert at his family's home, leading to a restraining order. You know what the worst part was? Chelsea asked. Not the affairs, not the lies. It was realizing how many people knew. How many people watched him destroy me and said nothing. Her words hit home. How many people had watched Emily play me for a fool? How many had seen the signs and stayed silent? I almost didn't send that letter, I admitted. But you did. You chose to act. She paused. Some might call it revenge. I call it justice. After we hung up, I sat in my new apartment, watching Houston's endless sea of lights through the window. Chelsea's words echoed in my mind, mixing with memories of Emily. The way she'd light up when talking about our future. The sound of her laugh. The look on her face when it all fell apart. My phone buzzed, another message from Emily. This one was different from her usual pleas. Just 3 words, I'm getting help. Attached was a photo of an admission form for a therapy center specializing in sex addiction and compulsive behavior. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as another manipulation, but something felt different. Maybe it was the lack of excuses, the absence of blame. Just a simple statement and proof of action. I didn't respond, but I didn't block her either. Some doors are better left neither open nor closed, but simply existing in a state of possibility. My revenge had been complete, devastating, arguably justified. But sitting there in my sterile new apartment, surrounded by boxes I still hadn't unpacked, I realized something profound. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And I wasn't there yet. Maybe I never would be. The truth is, when you spend 5 years loving someone, they become part of your story. You can't just erase them, can't pretend those years didn't shape who you are. The best you can do is learn from it, grow from it, and try to build something better from the ashes. I opened my laptop and started typing. Not to Emily, not to anyone. Just words on a screen, trying to make sense of it all. The betrayal, the revenge, the aftermath. Trying to understand how love can turn to strategy, how trust can become a weapon. Working to untangle the knots of what happened and what it meant. 6 months after I left Austin, work sent me back for a conference. I almost declined, but something made me accept. Maybe it was time to face the ghosts I'd left behind. The city had changed, or maybe I had. South Congress felt smaller, less magical. Our old apartment building looked tired in the Texas sun. I caught myself driving past it one evening, slowing down just enough to see a "for lease" sign in the window. Emily had moved on, at least physically. The conference was at the Four Seasons, ironic, given its role in my story. As I walked through the lobby, I remembered the evidence I'd gathered, the secrets these walls had witnessed. I wondered if Robert still came here, if any of the staff remembered him and Emily. That's when I saw her. She was at the hotel bar, alone, nursing what looked like a club soda. Her hair was shorter, less glamorous than she used to keep it. She wore simple business attire instead of her usual designer clothes. But it was the way she carried herself that struck me, shoulders slightly hunched, like she was trying to take up less space in the world. Our eyes met across the lobby. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she gave a small, sad smile and turned back to her drink. No drama, no scene, no desperate attempts to explain or apologize. Just quiet acknowledgement. I stood there longer than I should have, watching her profile. The woman who had almost destroyed me, who I had definitely destroyed in return. She looked different. Humbled, maybe. Or just tired. My phone buzzed, a text from my new girlfriend, Sarah. "How's Austin treating you? Miss you." Sarah knew my story, knew about Emily. She'd helped me learn to trust again, showed me that not everyone plays games with hearts. She was real in all the ways Emily had been artificial, honest where Emily had been cunning. I looked back at the bar. Emily was gone, leaving behind an empty glass and a generous tip. Some part of me wanted to follow her, to hear what she'd say after all this time. Instead, I texted Sarah back, "Miss you too. Can't wait to come home." Because that's what Houston had become, home. Not just a place to escape to, but somewhere to build something new. Something real. Later that night, in my hotel room, I received an email from Emily. No accusations, no excuses, just a simple message. "I saw you today." I wanted to say something, but I realized I lost that right a long time ago. "I'm doing better now, therapy, support groups, honest work. Not telling you this to get anything from you. Just wanted you to know that your revenge had an unexpected effect, it forced me to face myself. I'm sorry for who I was. Thank you for showing me who I never want to be again." I read it 3 times, trying to detect the manipulation, the hidden agenda. But maybe sometimes a simple truth is just that, simple. I didn't reply. Some stories don't need more chapters. The next morning, as my plane took off from Austin, I thought about revenge and justice, love and betrayal. About how sometimes the most complete victory isn't in destroying someone, but in walking away and building something better. Emily's last message stayed with me, not because it changed anything about our past, but because it suggested something interesting about the future. Sometimes when we think we're writing someone else's punishment, we're actually drafting our own redemption story. Sometimes revenge isn't just about making someone pay, it's about making them see, making them understand, making them change. Or maybe that's just what I tell myself to sleep at night. Sarah met me at the Houston airport, her smile genuine, her hug real. As we drove home, she asked me how it felt, seeing Austin again. Different, I said. Like watching a movie I used to know by heart, but now I can't quite remember all the lines. She squeezed my hand. Sometimes forgetting is good. Sometimes, I agreed. But as Houston's familiar skyline appeared on the horizon, I thought about memory and mercy, justice and growth. About how every ending is really just a different kind of beginning. Emily had taught me how to destroy someone's world. But in doing so, she'd also taught me something far more valuable, how to build a new one from the ruins. And maybe, in the end, that was the better revenge, not the destruction I'd orchestrated, but the life I'd built afterward. The scars remain, of course. They always will. But scars are just stories written on the heart, reminding us where we've been, showing us how far we've come. My revenge story had an unexpected epilogue, healing. Not forgiveness, I wasn't there yet, might never be, but something like peace. And sometimes, that's enough.